Please apply. The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
22 minutes before 12 o'clock. Time for the Sharing Space. This is a feature that we do every Wednesday around this time where we share our stories. Stories that happened at home, at work, on holiday, whatever you want to share with us. You want to share with the 702 family. So you can send us an email if you have a story you want to share with us, or maybe you're seeking advice from the 702 family. You can send an email on cm@702.co.za. So what story do we have today? We've got a voice note that we're going to play for you now. And at the end, I want you to weigh in. I think it's really fascinating because it's asking some questions that I think a lot of us have been asking ourselves. Maybe some of us have even considered similar things. So let's pay a close attention to what this listener is sharing with us. And if they're asking for advice, please feel free to give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note to give them advice, or just to simply share your experience. Here we go.
Hi, Clement. I hope you are well. So my husband and I spent a long time looking for a helper for our household, and we finally found one 6 months ago. I found a lady in her late 20s because I wanted to give young women an opportunity. Previously, we have had older women helpers, but sometimes they have had challenges with being active and agile with our kids. We have 3 kids, the youngest of which is 2 years old. Our problem is that our new helper has been very inconsistent in how she shows up for work. Over the last couple of months, she has not showed up on Mondays or Fridays every week. She always has an excuse about why she wasn't at work. Recently, she didn't show up for a couple of days. During the time, she was posting on her WhatsApp status quite a lot, and one of the pictures she posted seemed to be of her hanging out with a group of friends. When she came back to work, she made another excuse about why she had not been at work. I am tired of her stories, and I really regret hiring a young person. I also want to confront her, but I don't want to fight with her because I feel it would be a waste of time. Can your listeners tell me what they consider when hiring a helper? Does age matter? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So you have hired a helper who is in their late 20s. I think that's incredibly young, but they're in their late 20s. You say you previously have hired older women as helpers or as domestic workers, but you felt that they were not agile. And this lady who is in her late 20s has been inconsistent with how she shows up at work. Sometimes she's late, Fridays and Mondays, and sometimes she comes up with all sorts of excuses. But then you see her posts on social media or on WhatsApp statuses hanging out with friends. And from the sense I'm getting is you probably are regretting hiring a younger person. So let's put it out there to our listeners. One, Anonymous is asking here if, I think she's still struggling with how she even raises this with this younger helper. Do you sit her down? Do you fire her? Or do you just revert back to older helpers? What's your approach in your household? Have you always been consistent and intentional about hiring helpers or domestic workers that are much older because maybe they have experience with raising children? Because Anonymous says her worry was that the older helper they had was not agile and active, and they wanted to try out this new younger ones. So what do you prefer? And have you had experiences with younger helpers or domestic workers? What was that experience for you? What works better? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. I have had a younger helper before, and I have since taken a decision that it's not going to work for me, because I do think that they've got competing interests and they're not able to fully commit. But that's just my experience. I know there are probably other people out there who've tried younger, domestic workers who have been quite efficient. Please share those positive stories with us as well. But sometimes, the younger ones, there are benefits, there are positives and negatives. I mean, I've had a younger helper tell me on my face that I have a crush on you. And I felt very uncomfortable, comfortable with that. And I thank goodness, because I also didn't have the bravery to also say to someone, okay, I don't think we can work together because now you're creating an awkward situation. And there are other things that I picked up happening in the house, right, that were worrying. So when she said that to me, then I thought, that's it. I don't think this is going to work. But also, I don't want someone to lose a job over that. I don't want someone to lose a job just because they seem to have feelings for their boss or whatever, however way you want to describe it, right? Thank goodness I ended up moving from the place, which worked better as an excuse for not taking her with. What have been your experiences? That was my experience, that I felt some of these younger ones will say these things to you or do certain things because they are also so brave to just do what they want and say what they want. And they forget that there's a professional relationship that exists here. So what are your experiences? Let's start with you, John, calling us from the Val. Good morning.
How are you, Clement?
Good, man. What's your experience?
Listen, I think you gotta choose your struggle, because I had an older one, Mary Elizabeth. I loved her to bits, but Mary Elizabeth was acting like my mom. Mary, she was my mom. Mary Elizabeth would come and reprimand you of certain things and this and that. So I'm saying you need to choose. If you have a younger one, you'll have a problem of her not coming to work, stealing, some steal. But I'm just saying you need to choose which one you're gonna be able to live with. A mother who's gonna play a mother figure to you, or a young one who's gonna be off. Mary Elizabeth never went off. She's always at work. But I can tell you now, I can't. She sits me down, John. You cannot do 1, 2, 3, 4. This and that and that and that. And that. So I'm just saying, everyone must choose a struggle.
Hey, May Elizabeth, what of a therapist and a mother at the same time? Oh, John, thank you for that experience calling from the Val. You see, and that's something perhaps you experience with the older helpers, is that sometimes they overstep. They want to advise you. I mean, if I didn't sleep home for the past 2 days, May Elizabeth now must sit me down and say, why didn't you sleep at home? Huh? Or if May Elizabeth has seen 2 different people in the house in a space of 2 months, I don't know, whatever, or 6 months, now May Elizabeth must sit me down and say, hey, why is there a different person here? What happened to the other person? No, I think you're here to do a particular work, and we must respect those boundaries. What's your experience? Do you prefer younger or older helpers?
Anonymous East End. Oh, what my image? These young ones, no. I've had one, tried on my clothes, was a bit too friendly, with my husband. No, she needs to get rid of her fast. So I always just prefer someone older. In terms of, someone being active with your kids, that's your job. That's not the nanny's job. Yeah. When you say she was too friendly with the husband, I've heard that as well from some of my female friends who've tried the younger ones, who say, hey, sometimes they get too over familiar with the husband, where you don't even share that relationship with them, but they're closer with the husband. And my response was always, maybe you are closed off. Maybe your husband is more generous, more talkative, cares about the helper, wants to ask them about, their own personal life, like, what did you study? Where do you come from? And maybe you are closed off. That's why they gravitate perhaps more towards your husband. I don't know. What's your position on that? Is that something you've experienced where the younger ones feel like they're gravitating more towards your husband and that made you feel uncomfortable, or they were just too over familiar? I mean, trying out your clothes? No ways.
Oh, Clement, this thing of people, especially the young couples wanting to hire young people. My line manager was looking for a nanny last year. And she came to work excited saying, "Oh, I found this 20-something-year-old from the Eastern Cape." And I was like, "Are you sure? Girl, are you sure?" Firstly, besides them going and partying and coming back with stories, young people, bazotatsela indoda, you know? So I just think it's just not a good idea to get a young person as a helper because they have a social life. They want to go have fun. So yeah, not a good idea at all.
And in Anonymous's case, this young helper doesn't come to work on Fridays and Mondays. I mean, come on. We know, we've been there. We've been in our late 20s. Yeah? Not coming to work on a Friday and then on a Monday, especially at the month end. And then you want to say, come up with some excuse. But on WhatsApp there, you forget. Because that's a thing as well, hey? Some of you lie about things and then you go post there on Instagram or on WhatsApp.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
7:02.
9 minutes before 12 o'clock.
Yes. Age does matter when you're hiring a helper. Like, I'll say, for example, me, myself, like, she's over 55, right? So there's just that relationship, employee-employer, but still a mother-son kind of relationship, mother-daughter with my wife. And the boundaries are clear, the lines of communication are clear. Like, go easy, man, guys. Like, we are flowing, man. Go nandi. So, like, I'm sorry, youth unemployment is a real thing. We are all trying to help, but Fagamavili, let her go. You'll never find peace.
Hi, Clement. To the listener, obviously, all the reasons that she told us are enough for her to fire the lady. Like, not maybe fire is a strong word, but it's reasons enough to say, sorry, ma'am, but please, you're not working here because of 1, 2, and 3. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. Service is service, and if she's not delivering, it's that simple. You have to let her go.
Hi, Clement. As for me, the elderly ladies, I realize that when I'm giving them instruction, they look at me like they know what they do. I mustn't give them instructions. They kind of like gave me an attitude. The younger ones, I had one and I realized was a no-go area. Yeah, they're just not fully committed.
And the younger ones, there's just bad reputation. And I think the dynamic also with the older generation is when you're giving them instructions, sometimes like, I'm older than you, I know better. And that's where it can become a challenge as well. Hey?
Yo, Clem, Tato here. The rule of thumb for me, and I insisted on it, that the woman of the house must do the hiring of the help, because generally she is in a better position to know exactly what we need and the kind of person that could deliver it and what age might work. We had a helper who was older and was a bit slower, but she was also very, very good with the kids. So kept her because the kids loved her. She was very, very good with the kids. And then not this past December, the previous December, hired a young person. In November, December, they went home and they were 2 weeks late. I told them, you'll never, ever be late again. They've never been late since. And if she told you on your face that she had a crush on you, you guys had gone too far already. Love you, Clem.
Yeah. I mean, there were certain things that were happening in the household, right? And I avoid confrontation at all costs. I know this is crazy, guys, but even with my current helper now, sometimes I ask my mother, I mean, I've got my mom who lives with me now, and sometimes I ask my mom, please tell her this. Please, can you tell her this? Please, mama, can you tell her to do this here? And even when my mom was not with me, there was times I used to call my mother to ask her to speak to the helper, to tell her to do certain things. So it started with this person who was young, who before she even said, I have a crush on you, it started with when I walk around the house without a shirt on, like half naked, there are certain comments that get made. And I thought, okay, maybe she's just being funny. It starts there, and then you're not really thinking that's where she's going with it. And then she starts asking particular questions until boom, that's what she says. But then what do? You don't fire someone because of that, do you? I just didn't have the bravery to say, that's it. The working relationship has ended. Thank God I moved far away from where, she could be able to come and work. So that's where that ended.
Hi, Clemens. This is quite an interesting conversation. I'm a helper myself. I've been working with my boss, I think, since I was 23. I'm now turning 37 this year. Yeah, I remember the first 5 years. I used to be something else. I would not come on Monday, but my boss always took a tough stand against all that, to the point that I realized that, you know what, I'm going to lose this job and I need to change my attitude towards work. So it actually helped me in a way. I'm a better person now. I do my work. I have other ventures somewhere, so it actually helped me in a way. And it's something else, man. When you are young, you just don't care about anything. You don't have responsibilities or anything. So yeah, it's tricky.
Clement, you're speaking to Tembi. Me, as a domestic worker, I would say age has nothing to do with what someone does. I think it is the character of that person. It has nothing to do with age. There are people who started as domestic workers at age 20, put themselves at school, educated themselves with that money, and they're doing other jobs today. So, yeah. Another thing, this is a tip to all people who work as domestics. Rule number 1, never allow your employers to check your status, block them. Rule number 2, repeat rule number 1. Thanks.
I love that.